Hey folks, I'm Mike. Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/Inkdependence. It keeps this blog ad-free. Hello folks, let's take a look at an ink today from the Platinum Classic line. This is the Platinum Classic Cassis Black. This is from Anderson Pens. This is another one of their samples they sent out for me. These come as 3mm samples. Check them out on andersonpens.com. That is where you will find these. You can see from the cap here, and I actually made this. They don't come with this. This would be a huge amount of trouble for them to do. It does turn into sort of a pinkish maroon, I suppose, is the way to say it. It's kind of hard to say what exactly this color is like because it's a bit of an oddball. All of these Platinum Classic inks, as I'm sure you know, are all iron gall inks, which means they're going to be a little bit more acidic, and you should probably keep them in gold nibs if you can. If you're going to use them in steel nibs, I'd say don't leave them in there very long because there's always a possibility of corrosion or that sort of thing, and I've heard that can happen with these Platinum Classic inks. I've had no problems at all with this ink in my Sailor 1911. I can get it in the shot here. Move. There we go. This is a Sailor 1911. This is an Anderson Pens color. This is the slate blue. It's got a hard broad nib, and it's gold, and I've had no problems with this. This ink actually doesn't feel as dry as some of the other classic inks do. They do have a tendency to feel a bit dry on the nib because of that iron gall nature. Here is the written review, or at least the top part of the written review. And you can see here that it dries to this sort of dark maroonish color. You get these little pink highlights and such. I mentioned here that it's a little bit on the thin side, that it has that the flow is just fine, and that's I think still how I feel about this, even since I wrote this a few days ago. I've been using it quite a lot, and in fact I inked this guy up originally in the end of May, actually. So I've had this ink going on for a while. I haven't used a ton of it, and maybe it's because it's just a little bit undersaturated for my taste. I, for some reason, like saturated inks. I know, y'all know this about me, but I like when it goes down on the page to be kind of dark immediately, and this takes a second to darken up. I did a little bit of a squiggle here in a previous iteration of this video that I decided wasn't good enough, so I'm going to do it again. Here, let's go ahead and zoom in so you can get a little bit better idea what's going on here. Okay, so here's a squiggle of this going down. And you can see that it's a little bit lighter as it hits the page, and as it dries, it's going to get a little bit darker, but not a whole heck of a lot. It dries and darkens a little, but it's no citrus black, that's for sure. It doesn't have that big a color change, but it is pretty quick. You can see it's already done there pretty much, and it's going to end up looking like this. Here's another thing that these Platinum inks have going for them, and that is that they work really well on crappy paper. So if you have a paper that's like a, I don't know, 20-pound copy paper sort of thing, like you get from Staples or like most copy machines, that kind of stuff, you're not going to have any problem with this ink because it performs perfectly. I can't put it any better than that. It's perfect, man. There is no feathering, no spreading. It actually looks a little bit darker on this paper because I think it soaks in more than it does in this Moraman paper I'm using here. And along with no feathering and spreading, no bleed whatsoever. Look at that. It's perfectly clean. It's actually this line here between my thumbs, but you can't see it at all. It's pretty awesome. So this is an ink that performs perfectly on crappy papers. So if you're a grader out there and you're looking for a not bright screaming red or anything like that, but you want an ink that's distinctive and a bit interesting perhaps to grade with, I don't know, I would check out this Platinum Cassis Black. I think it's pretty cool. Cassis, by the way, is the name of a liqueur, and a liqueur that can be added to wines and that sort of thing. It's made of black currants, so it's got this kind of, I don't know, juicy berry sort of color, and it does look sort of like a berry stain. I used to play with, what was it, currants? I want to say it was currants in my grandmother's backyard in Vermont. She had, I would always get my hands all stained with them. They would look like this. It'd be kind of gruesome maybe, but it looks just like berry juice, man. All right, so here's what it looks like next to a couple of other inks, and really I don't have anything inked up that's very close to this, if I'm honest, and that's why I only did a couple of examples. We'll look at some color cards here in a little bit. But I thought Sweet Maroon was going to be closer than it is. Sweet Maroon does sometimes, if you had it in like a pretty dry pen, look a little bit more pink. This is a very wet nib that I had this in, and so it just comes out really dark with a little bit of shading. That's probably pretty hard to catch on this camera view. And then Kyo-iro Flaming Red of Fukushima. I think it's Fukushima. Fukushima, for sure. Let me look it up, because I don't want to say the wrong thing. It is Flaming Red of... I can't find it in here. Fushimi. Flaming Red of Fushimi. So check that one out if you want like a bright screaming red. This is not what you're going to get from Cassis Black. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at this in a couple of papers. Here is one. This is a currently inked journal. This is the previous iteration of the Inky Fingers line from the Pen Habit. Go check those out. I'm sure Matt would like to sell you a notebook or two. And this is a wheat straw paper. It's actually kind of similar to this Moraman paper, I think. But you can see here that it doesn't really, it comes off kind of matte on this paper. It doesn't look all that great to me. It's just not really my jam on here. It might be yours, but it's not particularly mine. The version of this that I like a little bit better is really this one, which is Papier Plume's Red Beans and Rice. I think that's a better look, although it doesn't behave as well as Cassis Black. So you got to kind of pick your battles there, I suppose. On Tomoe River paper, this stuff looks pretty darn good. Let me flip through and find the right one. There we go. So here it is on Tomoe River. This is from an ink journal. You can find those at inkjournal.com. This is, again, that same Sailor pen with this same ink. And it looks pretty good on Tomoe River. Tomoe River generally makes an ink look good, but it doesn't soak in at all, and so it ends up being a little bit lighter. I actually like the way this looks on copy paper a little bit better than I like it on any of the fancy papers that I tried it on. So if you're a person that doesn't use fancy paper much, this is a great ink for you. All right, let's take a look at the water drop test right quick. So let's drop some water on this sucker. It is an iron gall, so I'm actually not anticipating much to happen here. But you never know. Sometimes reds are a bit difficult to get a waterproofness on. And it looks like it is moving a bit. The khaki black didn't move much at all, but this one looks like it might have a little bit of movement. I bet there's still going to be plenty left over when we're done. But let's go ahead and mop that up. You can definitely see some of the pink came off for sure. We'll just have to see what kind of damage we've got here. Couldn't soak it all up with that corner. Let's try this corner too. There we go. And a lot of the red actually comes off. This is actually another good thing if you're grading with this ink. It's waterproof, so nobody's washing this sucker off and changing their grade in case you have some little hooligans. This one definitely sticks around. It's kind of like a grayish, mauvish sort of color in there, but it's definitely still visible. It's not going to go all the way away, so that's pretty cool. Let's take a look at the chromatography on this. And here it is. Flip it over so you can see the name. There we go. You can see this is what was left over, is kind of this like a little bit of red down at the bottom, but also kind of this grayish steel color, which is interesting, and it's sort of the base of a lot of these iron gall inks. If they move at all, they move and leave some stuff behind, which is cool. A lot of that red left the bottom, comes to bright red, just a little bit of a stain of like a bare orange or something. I don't know exactly what that is, but a little bit of a off-white stain there up at the top, but a lot of the reds and purples and stuff left. So this is going to be water resistant, but I wouldn't say it's waterproof as much as some of the other ones do, but you're definitely going to have some left over, and that's not going anywhere. That iron gall stuff tends to stick around. So there we go. Let's go ahead and take a look at some examples of inks that are fairly close. Let me back out here. All right. So first, let's look at a pretty standard red that a lot of people know, and that's Schaefer Script Red. I'm a big fan of Schaefer Script Red. And let's go on the other side with one that some people keep hearing about. If you listen to the Pen Addict podcast, you'll definitely hear about Califolio and Andronople. That's one of the host's favorites there. And it's sort of a carnation-y sort of pink, or somebody's kind of like rose bright pink. Cassis Black comes off somewhere in between. It's not really a red. It's not really a pink. Let's give it some other colors to sit next to. Here's one that's a little bit closer but darker, and that's Mont Blanc's Alfred Hitchcock. I did not get a hold of more than a tiny sample of Alfred Hitchcock, but if you can get a hold of some of that, that's pretty good. Sailor Okayama is a little bit close as well. It has sheen and such, which the Cassis Black doesn't have, but it does have some of the same tones here and here. Just the lightest bit of Okayama is about the same as the darkest bit of Platinum Cassis Black, so that'll help give you a little bit of an idea that way. And then, lastly, let's put it next to a couple of other inks. One is Robert Oster Copper, which I haven't really gotten around to. It doesn't actually look all that good on this card, if I'm honest. I'm not a big fan of this one. That's why I haven't done it yet. It's I don't know, like it looks a little bit maroon. It doesn't really look like copper, maybe like some kind of burnished copper, I suppose. And then over here, Bungbox Tears of a Clown, which is pretty close to Okayama or Granada or any of those. But the lighter tones you're going to find in here are the ones that are the darker tones in Cassis Black. So if you have a real wet pen, use that Cassis Black and get the darker tones. But otherwise, you're probably going to see something in between. So there you go. All right, so this has been Platinum Classic Ink Cassis Black. This sample was provided for review by Anderson Pens. Thanks again to them. Go check them out. This stuff goes for $25 in a 60 ml bottle. I don't have any of these bottles yet. I don't think I'm going to be buying Cassis Black. I'll probably get one of the others because there are some other ones that are pretty darn cool. But I wanted to get this one out there and continue the Cassis Black trend. Or rather, continue the Platinum Classic trend is what I mean to say. So there you go. Go find that at your friendly neighborhood platinum dealer. Mine is Anderson Pens, and I will see y'all later on. Peace out. I feel like this is going shittily. Now I want to start over.